Right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the latest Service Department News webinar. Today, we are looking to the future. We are speaking with 4 rising stars of the Service Department and extended stay sectors. My name's George Sell. I'm Editor-in-Chief at International Hospitality Media. We are the publishers of Service Department News, and we produce multimedia B2B platforms for various sectors of the real estate and hospitality industries. Now, today's webinar has 2 sponsors. The first is the Residence Apartments, which are based in London, and we are about to watch a short video to find out some more about them. Okay, thanks to the Residence Apartments. You can find out their contact details in the chat, so I urge you to get in touch and make contact with them and find out more. Our second sponsor is Muse, a well-known hospitality software producer. Again, the details about Muse are in the chat, so please do get in touch with them and find out more about what they have to offer. Today's webinar is going to last an hour. We're going to have around 45 minutes of discussion with our panelists. If you have any questions for them, then please do submit them using the chat or the Q&A functions in Zoom, and we'll either answer them there and then, or we'll save a bit of time at the end of the session to get around to answering those. Everybody who's registered will receive a link to a recording of the webinar in the next couple of days. So let's look to the future. Let's meet our panel, and we're going to meet them as we see them from left to right on the screen. So first of all, Eliza, welcome to you. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm Eliza. I am a corporate reservation supervisor in Premier Suites. I've been in this role for 3 years, and I work with Premier Suites Dublin for 3 properties. It's incredible to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. Good to see you. And you're very modest, too modest to mention that you were actually the winner of the Rising Star Award at the Service Department Award last year. So a belated congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Dino, good afternoon to you.
Hi, George, and thanks for having me today. I'm a CEO and co-founder of FLOK. FLOK is an operator of service apartments, boutique hotels, and co-living spaces. We operate across 8 different markets in 4 different countries, and we manage at the moment about 250 units, with another 500 units in the pipe.
Okay, thank you, Dino. Inessa, welcome to you.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm the marketing manager for the Residence and our recently created brand Jitaku. I've been in the industry for about 6 years now, starting out in hotel operations, and now I lead marketing across several brands, from digital strategy to campaigns and everything in between.
Thanks, Inessa. And finally, Jeroen, welcome to you.
Thanks, George. Hi, guys. Jeroen. I work for Cycas Hospitality. Some would say the best extended stay hotel operator in Europe. I have been with the company for 4 years now. I am part of the development team, which basically means I'm part of the team that makes sure we continue to grow and create more new fantastic extended stay hotel assets in Europe with our various brand partners. So we have small independent 50-key extended stay hotels in city center London to large 500-key assets in let's say Zurich. So we manage everything and everywhere in Europe.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jeroen. If you look in the chat, you'll be able to see the LinkedIn profiles for our speakers today. So if you want to continue the conversation with them after the webinar, then do drop them a line via LinkedIn. Okay, let's find out a bit more about you guys and how you got started in this industry. We'll start with you, Eliza. So how, when, and why did you start working in the service department and extended stay sector?
Well, that was quite a path, I'd say. I started off working in Vector Group, which was a travel agent bringing people to Ireland, mostly students. And I was mostly working on that side of the industry. And I just loved working with people. I loved helping them out, and I loved listening to them and finding out what exactly they want with their stays. And when I moved to Ireland 3 years ago, I was doing my master's degree and I was looking for a part-time job, and I happened to stumble upon Premier Suites. At that time, I started off in Premier Suites Leeson Street as a part-time receptionist, but then I just progressed in my career, and I took on a full-time role, and then I took on the corporate reservations and that side of things for the 3 properties. And just recently, I moved on to the separate office away from reception to support more the sales team. And now I'm in this role and I do love it. I do love the challenges that come with it. And I do love the team at Premier Suites, which is, yeah, that's a bit of a rocky start for me in terms of the finding the sector, but I am happy with it now.
Okay, we'll move on and talk a bit about the challenges shortly.
Yeah.
But first, Dino, over to you. Same question to you. How did you get a start in the sector, and why? What attracted you to it?
Yeah, I joined the sector. I started the company basically in 2016. It was very unexpected, to be honest. I worked in the hotels before, and I've seen it was mostly luxury hotels and corporate hotels, and I've seen the fact that hotels offer quite a lot to the guests, that we guests don't use a lot of those perks that are sometimes unnecessary, but that will increase the price and make hotels less attractive. So I started with my first apartment back in 2016, and we started then operating only as a property management company. And with the time we grew, new opportunities came along, adaptations to COVID. So we started moving more towards the living sector through co-living and longer term rents. And yeah, here we are today.
So from one apartment to 200 and another 500 in the pipeline in less than 10.
Exactly, and we are happy to say we were also fully bootstrapped until 2 years ago. So it was quite a challenge and nice growth, considering that we also had 2 years of COVID. And but we'll come to the challenges as you said before.
Great stuff. Thank you, Dino. Inessa, how about you? I think you mentioned you started working in hotels, but so how did that come about?
Yes. Yeah, so my first experiences in the working world were actually in hotels. My very first job in London was at Hilton as a night auditor, and I absolutely loved it. I was more involved in operations back then, but I was always drawn into the creativity and strategy behind marketing, and that's what I did my master's in as well. And that eventually led me into the marketing side of hospitality, and now I work for the residence. It's been over 3 years now, and yeah, here I've had a chance to combine that early passion with a more strategic marketing role.
And finally, Jeroen, how about you? How did you get into this sector?
Yeah, maybe first the why. I think hospitality has always been in my blood. Both my parents worked in the industry, so I naturally grew up traveling to very nice hotels and resorts back in Asia. So it's always been my blood. The how and the when, I would say I also have an operational background. And then I did a degree in hospitality management. I graduated in 2020, which is maybe not the best year to enter the hospitality industry. But I think I worked hard enough to secure a job and have not looked back since. And so super proud to be still working in a fantastic industry.
I think studying and graduating through the pandemic was tricky enough, whatever your subject, but when it was hospitality, it must have been a real challenge. So hats off to you for that. Okay, so let's move on to talk about challenges and opportunities. So Eliza, what are you finding to be the biggest challenges and the biggest opportunities in your current role?
So To be honest, the biggest opportunity for me is the ability to talk to different people, be that guests, agents, bookers. I'm a very people person, and I just love building those relationships and maintaining the relationships, attracting new people in. And that's the biggest opportunity to learn more about other people, about the culture, which is great. And to be honest, I won't say it's a challenge, but coming into this job, into corporate reservations, it is not a 9-to-5 job. You have to be ready to deal with last-minute reservations, last-minute requests, changes at a moment's notice. So I do love this challenge, but it is something that you have to be ready for. You cannot be closing up at 9 o'clock and just leaving without looking back. So yeah, I'd say that's the main thing.
Okay, thanks, Eliza. Dino, I'm guessing the challenge and the opportunity might overlap for you. I mean, growing and scaling a business rapidly is obviously a great opportunity, but it's not an easy thing to do. Tell us a bit about your journey in that respect.
Definitely. I mean, it's also growing company from just few apartments in one city to several cities and 250 apartments. With the time, every next step, the job itself changes, and some challenges that were challenges in the beginning now are things that probably I forget about that they exist in the company, and I'm focused more on other stuff. Speaking about current environment, we see a lot of opportunities because the alternative asset sector is becoming more institutionalized. More people are moving into sectors, so more opportunities. But for us, there are quite a few challenges as well. One of them being regulations and changing regulations, and one of them being labor shortages, at least in the markets in which we operate. And this is a big operational challenge and hurdle for growth.
I can imagine. I mean, if you're moving into a new city where you don't have any previous presence, finding good operational staff who you can trust to be the kind of face of your brand, that must be a particular challenge.
Yeah, I mean, especially for seasonal destinations, because in seasonal destinations you need to hire someone for 3 to 6 months, and finding people for those positions is particularly tricky.
Yeah. Thanks, Dino. Inessa, how about you? What are the biggest challenges and opportunities you're facing?
Yeah, so my role basically requires me to be involved in every aspect of our brand's presence, from social media and digital marketing to offline campaigns, guest communication, partnerships, and even working closely with our operations and sales teams to ensure consistency. So I think in marketing, one of the biggest challenges would be how fast the landscape is evolving. It's no longer about that polished corporate messaging. Brands need to be more relatable today, more agile, and hyper aware of their audience. So I think that shift opens up a lot of exciting opportunities for marketers to be more authentic and to experiment, whether it comes to content, and basically allows us more opportunities to truly differentiate in what, can be a crowded market.
Are you finding, Inessa, that some of the social media channels are now also booking channels as well as just used for marketing? Are people actually transacting with you through those?
Yes, definitely. I think through social media, of course, people are actively engaging, especially if you're showing that authentic side of your brand. We recently show our team, and it's very important to, stay authentic. And that's what a lot of people value these days, just showing that real side of your operations, your team, and everything. And I think that's something, especially on social media these days, is very, very important. And brands love experimenting with it, and we love to keep up with that. So I think, yeah, that's definitely something we feel a difference how marketing is, especially on socials, compared to how it was, for example, 5 years ago.
Thanks, Inessa. And Jeroen, how about you? What are your biggest challenges and opportunities?
Yes, yeah. So more like I said, mostly focused on creating new assets. So from a development side and an investment side of point of view for extended stay, products or assets, it's it's a different environment currently, a bit more tough environment, and primarily like Dino already said it, and there are a lot of operational pressures which we have to consider, but also rising build costs, which basically means a project which was feasible pre-COVID is perhaps no longer feasible post-COVID. It simply costs more to run these assets, but also to build extended stay hotels, especially markets where there's a bit of a rate ceiling or clear RevPAR ceiling, where the inflation growth in rate has not been as strong. So this has been a bit of a tougher challenge with conversation with owners or capital trying to move into the sector. That being said, I do think the opportunity is for our sector. For example, at Cycas, we really look at any asset at any location with any brand, and that with that we naturally get a lot of volume. I think on average we do like 10 to 15 projects per week, which puts us in a unique position that we can really look at each project and really determine what works best for the site and have a true objective and unbiased view. And in many cases, the service apartment model is the most attractive model, because simply you have a leaner operating structure, which means higher margins and often results into stronger returns. And like Inessa said, there are a lot of brands coming up in the space, which provides us as a white label operator who doesn't have a brand to really go to owners and present them with a lot of new design ideas, new innovative designs to still be able to create service apartments.
Jeroen, we saw towards the tail end of COVID and the period immediately afterwards, a lot of interest in serviced apartments from investors, developers, owners who perhaps hadn't considered it before because of the self-contained nature and how well it performed during the pandemic. Is that still the case, or are they kind of drifting back to the asset classes they felt safe in? And are the sites that you're looking at, are they often considered for other uses as well as extended stay? Are owners and investors looking at a variety of uses for a single site?
Yeah, again, we're asset class agnostic. A large part of our portfolio, and when Cycas started back 20 years ago, our bread and butter has been extended stay hotels. Looking back at COVID, I think a large part of our portfolio was still extended stay, and that really saved us. Simply, where did people travel to if they could travel to? It was to the type of products that they could stay comfortably for longer, have a home-like feeling, be able to cook for themselves. So our hotels performed actually really well. They were making money and not losing money during COVID. And that trend has even strengthened post-COVID. It continues to be a very resilient product. When the market does well, the product does really well. But even in a downturn, it continues to perform. So it remains a very attractive product to build, to operate, and to continue to evolve.
Yeah, thanks, Jeroen. Dino, I can see you've got your hand up there. Did you want to come in on that topic briefly?
Yeah, sorry. Definitely, I think it's an interesting question and interesting perspective, and you can see this shift after COVID with the time, because people have seen, as Jeroen said, it's more resilient asset class, and it can be easily transformed to maintain at least some yield during difficult times. And what we see now, and where we see our opportunity as well, is where owners within one project, they want to combine different typologies and different types of rooms, where they will give serviced apartments, they will require a little bit more space and higher capex because of the kitchen fit out. So they will combine regular, let's call them traditional hotel rooms, some studio serviced apartments, even some bigger apartments like 2-3 bedroom, for which we see consistent and steady demand, while the supply is still lacking a bit more than, the classical studio serviced apartments. So I think it's about being adaptable and being able to manage different kind of properties and also create different kind of properties in the way that they make sense for the owners in both good and bad times.
Yeah, thank you, Dino. Eliza, I've got a feeling I might know the first half of your answer to the next question, which is what do you love most about the sector? But also I want to know what is your biggest frustration too?
Fair enough. So I do love again, creating the personalized experience, because now we can see that people are more looking for a tailored experience within the service departments. And I do love working with people on this, and it is easier for us as we have 3 properties in Premier Suites Dublin, and they're all quite different to each other. So again, I do love working with the guests and the agents on trying to accommodate them as best as possible at this point. In general, in sector, I feel that it's such an international sector, and we can see it on the panel as well, that even working with the team is so much more interesting, given that everyone has a different background. And in Premier Suites, we have quite a small but dedicated team, which again is something that I do love. And it applies to the whole sector, working with the agents. You never know who is going to be on the other end. I don't think, to be honest, I have any frustrations. Like, it's very difficult to say, but one of the things that is a bit better now, but that was very prominent when I just started working in the sector, is that not everyone would get the differentiation between the services provided by the service departments and by the hotels. So it is always trying to educate, especially leisure guests. Like, we can see that the long stay business has already moved on to service departments, and they are aware of the services that are provided. However, there is an increase in leisure and corporate transient who do need that differentiation to be not explained, but to be kind of specified for them. But again, we're dealing with it, and we can see more and more people are choosing service departments for whatever type of travel that they need.
Yeah, thanks, Eliza. And you make a good point about the international nature of the industry, and also indeed of this panel. So I'm in the UK today, and our panelists are in Croatia, Ireland, Armenia, and the Netherlands. So I think that gives you a pretty good flavour of that. Dino, over to you. What do you love most about the sector, and what is your biggest frustration?
Well, it's definitely a dynamic nature of the sector, and how things are moving and changing fast. In terms of frustration, we are still also working on the property management side. So basically working directly with private owners. And we can see from there also that there is still lack of professionalism in the industry. It's moving, obviously. We have 4 different companies today present here, and it's becoming more and more corporate, let's say. But I think it's still a long way to go, and the industry is still young. And definitely what's frustrating part is also that there is, regulation-wise, it's very ununiform and very different from market to market, making it more complicated to grow and to expand. Yeah.
One of the things I've noticed, I think it still feels like quite a cooperative sort of industry. You know, there's a good atmosphere. There's still camaraderie between companies, even though they're rivals. It's which I think is quite nice to see. Inessa, how about you? What do you love most, and what's your biggest frustration?
I love that we can deliver the warmth and flexibility of a hotel stay, yet give our guests the feel of a real home. So from a marketing standpoint, that means a lot of storytelling, everything from work from anywhere to, for example, pet-friendly long stays. For example, at the residence, every apartment is different. It matches the location with its style. So every stay feels more meaningful, not just transactional. And I love watching, you know, travelers feel at home and actually creating that homely atmosphere for them. What frustrates me? I think I'll have to agree with Eliza, and this is my observation based on some of the inquiries that we get on our social media, is that some people still confuse us with either hotels or Airbnb. So sometimes half of my job is just explaining what we are before even selling the benefits. So still having to explain that we're not just a hotel room with a kitchenette, just trying to highlight all the uniqueness that the sector is offering.
Thanks, Inessa. And Jeroen, same question to you.
Yeah, sure. I think Dino, you said as well. I think it's a bit frustrating or difficult to enter and grow into new locations. But I think that frustration is more an opportunity for our company, or at least Cycas. I think we're one of the first to launch the extended stay concept in Europe back, I think, in 2008 with I think one of the first Staybridge suites in UK. And moving forward 18 years, we have assets in 13 different countries. We just entered Portugal 2 months ago. So I think it's frustrating, yes, because every country has its own little laws and their own language, and it makes it operationally very difficult. But also a unique opportunity to be able to execute successfully in this field. Yeah, and I guess what Inessa said, it's the hospitality industry still. You're providing service to others. You're taking time out of your day to provide warmth, and very cheesy, but making others happy. And it's very rewarding. It's one of the few industries that literally your day is sacrificing to make others happy or make them feel welcome and make them feel home. A clear frustration, perhaps me, for being more tied to the real estate side and seeing all this warmth and color in the hospitality side of the business. I would say the real estate side is a bit more gray and could use a bit more color.
Jeroen, I remember a few years back, Cycas did actually acquire some of the Staybridge Suites assets that you were operating in the UK. Is that still part of the strategy today, to acquire certain assets, or is it purely an asset-light model now?
Yeah, so we're a service provider. I don't think we'll really focus on acquiring assets. So again, we work with all the brands and any brands. I think we are a white label for a reason. We don't have a brand tied to us. If we could work with Premier Suites, we'd work with Premier Suites. If we could work with the residents, with anyone, with affiliates, and try and, again, we do what's best for the location and to be able to create a service apartment or a extended stay product. All stakeholders have to be happy. So there's a lot to consider. Our growth strategy is focused, continue to be the pan-European leader in this space. And we are looking at projects anywhere and everywhere. Like I said, continue growing in the UK and in the Benelux, but we're also moving more and more towards South Europe and the Baltics. As Dino can see, the space is very active, and he's successfully growing in the region as well. So
yeah, thanks, Jeroen. Eliza, how is technology changing the way you work, and how do you think this will evolve over the next few years?
So we can already see the changes, especially after COVID. We're now more, even as Premier Suites, focused on contactless check-in, for example, trying to make the experience as easy as possible using the technology. So I can already feel that this is changing, and I'd say the technology is going to be playing a bigger part in the sector as well. Like the small things that at least we now have is the keyless entry or introduction of smart TVs. It just makes the experience more enhanced for the travelers. And to be honest, I would say that, again, from my perspective, as working in corporate reservations, it is also evident that we're using more platforms now. Whenever an inquiry comes in, it used to be more either an email or a phone call, but now a lot of agents are moving to platforms, and they do get a speedier reply, and it's more standardized. even though I still love to chat to them and I would still prefer to pick up the phone, you know, and talk through the requirements and try to accommodate them. But still we can see that this is the trend as well. Another thing is, which is a bit of a challenge now, but I'd say that we're going to be moving towards coming up with the solution for this, is the long stay online availability. That is at least a pain for me, because a lot of agents, a lot of bookers want to go online and book just directly without involving anyone else. It is very difficult to manage it now, at least from my perspective and from my point of view. So yeah, that's something that is probably going to be changing in the nearest future, hopefully.
Thanks, Eliza. Dino, Eliza's touched there on some of the kind of guest-facing technology, but how about on the operational side? How are you seeing technology change the way you do things?
I think it definitely makes it more streamlined and optimized. I think the technology is one part that enabled this whole industry to come together, from rise of Airbnb, but everything after that, from remote work and those digital nomad trends and so on. But on the, I mean, in terms of operations, there is as much to disrupt as there is. It's a simple business model. So I have a feeling that most companies catch up in terms of the technology use. It's going to be for housekeeping, it's going to be for organization, channel management, and definitely with the AI for quicker and a bit more accurate guest support. But what I think is important is that we don't lose completely this human touch, because it's people's industry, and automation is good, but we need to combine it with personal touches and soft touch from that hospitality is known for.
Yeah, thanks, Dino. Inessa, are you using AI yet in your marketing? And if so, what are you using it for, and what have the results been?
Yes, definitely. Technology is my best friend. It should be everyone's best friend. And I know it evolves quickly, but we have to move with it. And with AI as well, I know it sounds scary for some people, but it's actually a huge help in simplifying many processes. And, you know, these just helps enhance guest experience. For example, we use different tools like chatbots, or even the way we collect reviews from our guests that can understand from your tone of voice, your mood and everything. So all these kind of tools are very useful and help streamline operations, and you know, they help making these experiences for our guests smoother and definitely more personalized, and basically they allow us to do our jobs better. So I think we shouldn't be scared of technology, and we just have to move with it and keep up with everything new that comes with technologies.
Yeah. And another question for you, Inessa, quickly. The mix of social media channels that you use, is that changing? And are there kind of new ones coming through as your sort of target demographic gets younger, perhaps? What's happening there?
I would say AI is definitely getting involved in how we run social media, how we run campaigns, and also how we analyze the data. There are a lot of interesting tools that help you understand the patterns, and based on not just simple analytics tool, but also how AI is helping to analyze all this data. So yeah, we definitely have to keep up with it, especially I think in my industry, you just have to use AI these days. And as I mentioned, I know it can sound scary for a lot of people, but it's actually a huge help. And if we learn how to use that help, that will benefit us. I think there's nothing to be scared of. Yeah,
great stuff. Thank you, Inessa. Jeroen, how about you? How is technology and AI affecting the kind of real estate side of things? I know there are tools out there that kind of can do investment analysis of buildings and so on. But how are you using technology?
Yeah, day to day, if I can embrace it, like Inessa said, I'm not scared to, because it really just makes you more efficient, and then you can have a higher output. And our team and company embraces it and uses it day to day. And then for the sector in specific, yeah, like I think has been said, I think there should be a very fine balance, and I think especially service apartments, extended stay sector, is all about lean operations and increasing efficiency and driving margins. And I think we're already there with technology, enhanced stays from digital check-ins, from keyless access, from augmented property tours. I think it's all available, and we should continue embracing it. Which means we will remain an attractive segment to continue to invest in. But there should also be that balance between, we are still in the people business and should have those critical touch points that we can create that home-like feeling that a lot of people still crave. So I think it's getting the balance right, embracing tech, but also remembering we're still in the people business.
Staying with you for a moment, Jeroen, and moving on to the next question. Let's talk about sustainability and ESG and how that's affecting the way we work. I think on the real estate side, that's probably quite closely linked with technology, because it's all about operating buildings efficiently and you know, technology's ability to help you to do that. Is that something that you're seeing kind of grow across your portfolio?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think being still relatively early in my career, ESG topics have always been very, very important from during my studies, but also evident when I started working in industry and at Cycas specifically as well. But being caught in the middle between various stakeholders, it's not only the consumer preferences which are changing and then requiring it, but also indeed the investors and lenders that are buying and financing new projects that are requiring stricter requirements with ESG and specifically sustainability. So currently sustainability still comes at a cost, if that makes sense. So it costs money to be sustainable. But yeah, moving forward, I think the ESG criteria and what it takes to be ESG compliant will just become more and more standardized and more measurable for our industry. And if we continue to use technology also to innovate and be the leaders in this space, again, we'll continue to be a very attractive segment for a lot of investors.
As you say, ESG comes at a cost, but I think there's an argument that there's a greater cost of not implementing.
Not exactly.
Because your building will be worth much less in the future if you want to sell it. So it's an interesting one. So you're seeing investor demand for ESG becoming...
Yeah, no, certainly, and also in terms of asset types, even again, because we look at various asset types and specifically in cities where there's a lot of tightness in the housing market and a lot of need for short-term rental, for the short-term rental market. There's again the shift with post-COVID that there's perhaps maybe a bit more vacant offices that do not comply with the ESG criteria anymore and won't. And service apartments naturally a bit more from a technical perspective, but the floor plates and the building shape naturally lends to the longer rooms, for example, for an extended stay asset. So even converting these type of old offices, let's say, into new service apartment products is a huge value for communities basically as well.
Thanks, Jeroen. Eliza, you're dealing a lot with agents, and agents are kind of the gatekeepers to a certain extent when it comes to ESG, because the travel buyers have quite a lengthy checklist now, I think, when it comes to ESG requirements.
That is true, and it is a huge trend now. And we are accredited as Premier Suites, and we're working towards silver green tourism now. But our new property, Premier Suites Edinburgh, has won actually one of the awards for sustainability. They're the newer property. But to be honest, from what I can see from the small things, it honestly starts with the small things, like trying to eliminate the reusable plastic. And it is a trend in Premier Suites across all of the properties that we have, is that we encourage our guests to reuse, to use less water, turn off the lights. Like, these are some small things, but we are working towards that. And just as a team as well, we are keeping an eye on the energy levels that we use, on the water usage as well across the property, just to kind of try and stay on top of this. So yeah, it is a big trend and we are working towards that. And it is nice to see that this is happening in the industry as well, and that service departments are being more cautious of all of these small things.
Have you ever had an agent or indeed a customer who's booked direct with you ask you about the environmental performance of your buildings?
Of course, it's a very common question, especially if it is an agent from either the UK or the States. They are constantly checking and making sure that that we're staying on top of all of those things. Yeah, which is again nice to see. Keeps us on our toes as well.
Okay, and there are quite a few certification schemes which
yeah.
you go for now, which I guess is probably the easiest way to demonstrate that you're doing what these buyers need. Would that be right? It
is, yeah. There are a few accreditations that you can get, and as I mentioned, we do have green tourism accreditation in Premier Suites, and we're working now towards a higher standard. So yeah, it's something that is easier, to send to the person and be like, look at this. That's what we have at the moment, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Eliza. Dino, how about you? How is the ESG agenda changing the way you work?
But it's definitely adapting it. I mean, not to repeat what Jeroen and Eliza said before, some things are obvious in terms of guest experience and materials used, as well on the real estate side. I think incentives on this are quite well aligned, because investment in something that's more, let's call it sustainable, but more sustainable also means lower operating costs afterwards. And I think this is what makes investors also be more interested to this side. As for us, we focus more on the S part of ESG, on the social part, especially in the phases when the real estate is empty. So we will work with the agencies, with the NGOs. Let's say we hosted in one of the projects in Brussels, Art Association, for the time while we were waiting for the permits, doing all the plans. So they occupy the building. It brings some life to the building. Of course, this building was suitable for it because it was reconversion. But in other cases, we'll look to host refugees or things like this while we wait to start reconstruction of the property. And I think this, as part of ESG, is where hospitality has a lot to give, as we are people's business. We impact the communities, we bring changes to the neighborhoods, whether we want it or not. I think this is where you can make a big difference as well.
And a similar question to you, Dino, that I asked Eliza. Are your guests asking you about the environmental credentials of the company in the buildings, or is it not so much?
Not really. It rarely happens. So I was surprised to hear this, that some agents, we don't work that much with the agents, and we cannot know how the guests are filtering the stays and do they actually use ESG filters. But I think it will also depend on the type of guests, geography as well. You can imagine the US and UK guests will be a bit more cautious about that, and the rest of the world not so much. So yeah, we didn't have many inquiries as such, but again, we don't know how the guests use filters on booking or other OTAs, and how important this part is within the decision making.
Yeah, thanks, Dino. Inessa, how important is ESG in the marketing message for your family of brands?
Yeah, definitely very important. I think these days, especially every employee at the residence will confirm this, that guests, corporates, and partners want that transparency. Our sustainability journey must be visible and credible, and we highlight third-party ESG credentials in our marketing to build that trust. With the help of our ESG manager, we share real examples, we share local partnerships we have, the community impact, staff well-being, so everything that basically covers all the aspects of ESG. Our ESG dashboard is regularly shared in our newsletters, social media. So yeah, I think especially basically we put a lot of thought in everything we do nowadays, with ESG becoming a trend. we do eco-friendly welcome packs. So there's a lot of thought in everything, in every step we do in our operations to make sure we're a responsible brand. We're Planet Mark. We have Planet Mark accreditation. We plant a tree for each guest. So there's a lot of things that we do to stay, on top of the game and just be a responsible brand.
Thanks, Inessa. Over the last 10 years or so, we have definitely seen a broadening of the customer demographic for service departments from something that was predominantly a business travel product has really opened up, and we've seen a much larger leisure audience. We've seen people, you could call them dual purpose guests. We've had people traveling for business and leisure combined. But to what extent do business travel trends still shape your role? Eliza, let's go to you first. And what do you think have been the main trends in business travel over the next few years?
So, to be honest, it is difficult to say at the moment. Like, we do see a lot of leisure coming in and choosing the comfort of service apartments over the hotel stays, especially traveling with families, but even solo travels. We can definitely see this. I would say that, as Inessa mentioned, service apartments industry is on the rise now. There are more and more new brands, and brand differentiation is something that is going to be a challenge, but it's also an opportunity to promote your brand, to promote the experience that you have, and to highlight how different you are from the rest of the providers, basically. So I would say that also another thing that would be here as well is the staff retention and attraction. Like in service departments, it is an opportunity to bring in more staff, and I can see that the brands and the service departments in general are trying to bring in more competent and more dedicated staff onto their teams.
Thanks, Eliza. Dino, you've got a slightly broader product mix perhaps than some of the other panelists. What's your ratio roughly, business to leisure guests?
I would say on the annual average, and considering that we also operate some strictly leisure destinations, it would get to about 50-50, with some periods in cities in which it would be 80-20. And in terms of the trends, I think it's getting back to normal, what we used to call normal, and there is conferences. People are still people attending conferences. People are returning to the offices as well, not in all industries, but they do to a certain extent. So we see it aligning with what was happening before, but what we see is a bit of new type of customers, people who will look for, who will stay longer, who will relocate to work remotely for a few months. This is where we bring our value as well, because it's we have certain geography, so people might stay with us, I don't know, 20 days in Zagreb, 20 days on coast, and then go to Sarajevo or Sofia. So we see much more of this activity. So basically people coming for longer times and having longer average stays. But I think it will continue to impact, and I think people like this face-to-face, although the webinars are great as we see today, but face-to-face is still face-to-face. So I think it will continue to drive the demand.
Yeah. I've read a couple of surveys that have said that business travel volume is back to pre-pandemic levels. I don't know, it doesn't feel like that to me, but I think the way people are traveling is definitely different. Inessa, what's your take on that? What have you noticed among your corporate clientele, and what are their sort of travel habits? How are they changing?
Yeah, I think definitely business travel trends have a big impact on my role as well, especially after COVID. I think we had this shift towards remote and hybrid work. So a lot of companies are adapting to it, and the demand for longer stays and having those flexible options in business travel is definitely growing. I think from the marketing standpoint, this means focusing more on promoting our properties as ideal work from anywhere experiences, and basically highlighting all the benefits of it, the spaciousness, comfort, tech features, everything that are basically useful for corporates who are used to these flexible work setups now. So yeah, it is definitely affecting us, especially after COVID.
And have you noticed any changes, Inessa, in the kind of proportion of business travelers as opposed to leisure in your buildings?
I think our focus was always business travel mainly. We had a lot of corporates. We work with companies that are focused on relocation. So I think our sales team would be able to give more specific answer when it comes to this, but we definitely have mostly business travelers than leisure.
Thanks, Inessa. And finally, Jeroen, over to you. What are your observations on business travel trends, and how are they affecting your role?
Yeah, sure. My role, not specifically, but again, I think for the sector and assets we manage, I think it's like it's been said, it's location driven. We're looking at a project in Madrid now, and that project will have a rooftop pool, and it will have a slightly more activated F&B service offering, because we think the target market will be more leisure driven, families staying for a week, few weeks, etc. We've managed hotels in London city centre that have also been built for extended stay purposes, thinking we would target all business guests. That hotel used to run at like 95% plus occupancy and being fully transient. So again, sometimes it doesn't meet expectation levels. If we build an extended stay hotel in a business park, then we do see, of course, a larger usage or guest demographic being corporate. That said, I think the extended stay business model or service apartment business model naturally lends to business travel, and I think it's only getting stronger to continue to have these products available in the market because of the trends that have been mentioned. From yes, there's the return to office mandates, but still the trends of working away from home or digital nomads is still on the rise, and it's still happening. Which means basically if you have a product where you can stay longer and more comfortable and have that home-like feeling, I think you basically have the perfect product to target all these upcoming trends in the field, which have been happening the past few years and are still continuing in my opinion.
Yeah, thanks, Jeroen. Okay, so we've spoken about lots of different facets of the sector. Let's talk a little bit more about you guys yourselves and what your hopes are for the future. So, Eliza, let's start with you. Where do you see yourself in 5 and 10 years' time? And will it still be in this industry? Do you think you'll still be serving people in some way or in the service department sector?
I do hope so. I do see myself, to be honest, staying in this industry. It is very fast-paced environment, which I like, and there are lots of changes happening every day basically, and every year as well. So I definitely see myself staying here and staying with Premier Suites. I would say personally, I would like to see more of a sales perspective as well. I'm now supporting sales team, but it would be definitely something that I'd be looking into.
Okay, thanks, Eliza. Dino, how about you? What are your goals? You're obviously focused on growth for the next few years. Where do you see yourself in 5 and 10 years' time?
I mean, on the corporate level, we want to keep expanding and keep expanding FLOK to different markets and delivering the value for the guests. And on the more private side, I think it's a low preference industry. So 5-10 years is not such a long period of time. So I definitely see myself still involved with real estate and specifically this sector.
Okay, thanks, Dino. And Inessa, how about you?
Yeah, my aim is, of course, to keep learning and broadening my knowledge in the sector, but maybe on a wilder scale. So leading maybe a brand portfolio where I can test different ideas, across multiple brands. One of the things I'm really excited about right now is the launch of our new brand, Jitaku. So it's a completely different concept, compared to what we've done before. And I think the industry has a lot of room to experiment and try new things. Maybe in the future, I'll create more brands where we can experiment and try different concepts, different things. So yeah, that's something I'd be very interested in. And hopefully I'll have enough knowledge and experience to share it maybe with a younger generation of marketeers.
Mm-hmm. Is the Jitaku brand one that you'll be looking to roll out? And do you anticipate a different guest demographic for Jitaku than you get at the Residence?
Yes, it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a mix of pleasure and business again. But the concept itself is very interesting. It's inspired by Japandi style, which is a mix of Japanese elegance and Scandinavian functionality, simplicity. So it is definitely going to attract a wider audience. And I'm sure it's going to be a very successful project. We're launching towards the end of this year. You can follow us on LinkedIn if you're interested to keep up with the news. So yeah, we share regularly about the updates. We do site visits, and yeah, we're very, very excited about this project. This is definitely a different concept to the Residence. And yeah, we are looking forward to sharing more in the future.
And is this a brand that you will open several properties across London, or could it go more broad than that? Could you even go international with it? What are the plans?
Hopefully. Well, currently we're going to be only 5 minutes away from Liverpool Street Station. So at the moment it's only one location with 24 apartments. But of course the plan is to expand and explore more locations.
Thanks, Inessa. And finally, Jeroen, how about you? What are your goals for the next 5 and 10 years, respectively?
Sure. Definitely staying in the realm of hospitality, real estate, I would say. And again, I think 5-10 years it sounds long, but it's also short at the same time. So I've always had like one long-term goal growing up. That it would be very nice to own my own hotel, resort, service apartment, extended stay. Now being active in the development investment side for a few years, I'm like, why one? Why not 5 or 10 or 15 or 20? So I'd like to own a few, let's say, instead of one.
All right. Well, that's a great ambition to have. Thank you all for your contributions today. That was a really interesting chat, and I think it's safe to say the industry is in safe hands with you guys at the helm in the future. So thank you for joining us today. We're just going to show you a few quick slides before we close the webinar. And when we get to the end, we're going to leave it open for a couple of minutes just so you can take some notes from all the information that's in the chat. So the next Service Department News webinar is on June the 5th. And it's about geopolitical shifts and the future of business travel and extended stay. The world seems like a pretty volatile place at the moment, and we're going to talk about how that is affecting hospitality and travel, which it undoubtedly is. You can see the link to register for that webinar in the chat. We are coming up to the 10th Annual Service Department Awards, which are taking place in London on the 13th of May. The voting for the people categories is still open. So you can go onto the website using the link that you can see there in the chat to book your tickets for the award ceremony, and also to find out how to vote for the people categories that you can see there. The Service Department Awards is a great event, as Eliza can vouch for. And we hope to see lots of you there. We're at a great new venue this year, the Sheraton Hotel, Park Lane in London, which is a very, very nice hotel indeed. And it's going to be a cracking night. So hope to see lots of you there. If you're interested in working with us at Service Department News, whether online or at our in-person events, do get in touch with my colleague Katie, whose details you can see on the screen and also in the chat. And finally, thank you to the residents and to Muse for sponsoring today. Thanks again to Inessa, to Dino, to Eliza, and to Jeroen for their fantastic input. Thank you all for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all on the next webinar. Thanks very much, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Hello, we are International Hospitality Media, or IHM for short. IHM is the #1 brand to engage with decision makers in hospitality and real estate. Our 4 multimedia brands lead their respective sectors with breaking news, comments, trends, and opinions across a variety of multimedia solutions. We provide an inspirational community to connect people through world-class events, webinars, podcasts, award schemes, and much more. But let us share our story of who we are and what we do. Over 10 years ago, Piers and George had a light bulb moment to provide expert opinion, comments, and low-cost digital content. And so, they went on a journey over the past decade, creating media platforms to serve the hospitality and real estate industries. We now have an engaged audience with a reach of over 60,000 monthly visitors across our website, 52,500 in our email database across all sectors, and over 68,000 across our social channels. Everything we do challenges the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. We make things simple and very easy to work with us, and we're a friendly bunch too. We offer creative solutions to help you achieve your business goals. Read, watch, listen, and meet with IHM. Connect with us for a chat today. Just look at some of the brands we have worked with recently.